Hello, and welcome to my guide to tanking the 1000 Maws of Toto-Rak in 5 minutes or less. Now this dungeon is a fair bit longer than the previous ones, with most new groups having a very high reliance on the tank to babysit them. In this run I've asked my healer to play an undergeared conjurer, so to show you what to expect from a healer even if they are undergeared. Starting off as always, making sure we pop our tank stats and then checking our healer. Just make sure to grab all the enemies as we move up to our first key item. All the key items will be marked with an in-game waypoint, and if they are a little less obvious, I will try and point them out in post. Now, hopefully, if your DPS are helpful, they will just grab the photocell, allowing you to keep pushing through the dungeon and speeding things up significantly. If not, you will need to stop at each individual one, cleave all the enemies down, and then pick up the cell yourself. Now, if you have got helpful DPS, make sure to stop at the third photocell, which is here marked C, and just clean up all the enemies following you, otherwise it might get a little bit spicy. Moving into the next room with the bright blue Magitech terminal, just grab the last photocell and interact with the terminal. You don't actually need to finish off channeling, the boss will just spawn as you click on it. Cleave down any remaining enemies and kill the boss before interacting with the terminal once again to lower the little blue shield. Once that's down, just push through and once again collect all the enemies without stopping. Keep pushing until you get past the prison puddings and get into the next room. Once we're in that next room, just make sure to pull all the warden whips and cleave them down. 2 of them will drop photocells, hence why we're just stopping here to make sure none get left behind. It is quite an annoying moment when you leave one behind and you have to spend 5 minutes looking for it. So just stop in this room, hence why I've got it marked 1 and 2 there with my little in-game waypoints before moving on. Turn left outside of the door where we will see some more warden whips and a marker for number 3. So once again, just gather them and cleave them down, picking up the photocell before moving on. Now this is where things get slightly more interesting. Up ahead there is the first webbed arch, and as you can see on screen here, as you walk through it, you get sucked through and it actually seals behind you. Now just keep moving until you get into the next room with the next Magitech terminal. Go left, and at the end of that little hallway you shall see our last photocell. Now if you have a helpful DPS, they will just pick that up, allowing you to move on. If not, cleave the enemies and pick it up. Return back to the terminal, and once again just interact with it to spawn the mini-boss. Just kill anything that dares stand before you. Once again, interact with the terminal to move on to the next part of the dungeon. Now here, it is a little bit helpful to make sure that your group is stacked up because there is a lot of these webbed gateways. There are also a bunch of eggs that when you hit them will explode and will poison you. Just proceed along the little walkway here until you get to the end. Now just keep an eye on your teammates as, again, the webs can split your team up and the situation could get a little dicey, so just be aware of your surroundings. So here you can see that my team have been separated from me, so I'm just going to go back and help them get rid of this web that is separating us before moving on. Now there's really not much else to say here, we're just going to keep pushing, pulling all the ads with us, breaking any webs that we come across, and making sure to pop any fleshy pods with our range attack. Now once we reach the end, we're going to be turning around right, and just beware that there's a very sharp left-hand turn coming up. Right here, take a sharp left, otherwise you'll go into a pointless room where you're just going to pull more enemies than needed. Keep pushing until you open the door from the start of the dungeon, and keep moving. Just be aware that as you go through this sucky suck here, an enemy will spawn behind you. So just turn around, grab that enemy's attention, and just make sure that none of your teammates are getting left behind. Once we've gotten to that last web, congratulations, you have made it to the boss fight. Now, this one does break tradition a little bit, or more so we should. The cutscene does take about twice as long as the boss fight, even if you are alone with the healer. So don't wait around for people watching the cutscene. It is just a ridiculously long cutscene. As for the boss itself, there aren't really any mechanics you need to worry about. There will be some ads that you should just grab the attention of, and he does use his tail to put a huge poison AoE down on the floor. Now you can mitigate this by killing his tail, but quite honestly it takes such a long time that it's more worth just to focus on the boss and move out of the poison as he does it. With that said, guys, congratulations, you've completed the dungeon. Thank you very much for watching, and
rejoice in the glory of combat!
Through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays.